Good evening and welcome to our thematic seminar series, Evening with a Corporate Leader, the Forum of Corporate and Business Storytelling. Organized by the Colombo School of Business and Management, the only business school in Sri Lanka to be governed by a combined structure of both visionary corporate leaders and celebrated academics that set out to create, nurture, and develop the next generation of corporate, business, and community leaders in Sri Lanka. We have been conducting these series for the past 24 months to feature more than 36 corporate leaders. We thought of introducing an innovative approach to today's session, where we will conduct the session in the form of a Q&A, moderated Q&A. We also acknowledge Delhi FT, our print media partner, and electronic media partner, Derana and Siatha, who will be covering this event. We also partnered with Sampath Bank, the most acknowledged and admired bank in Sri Lanka, as the title sponsor for this event in presenting this series of storytelling as a free public event. Today, we have invited yet another corporate magnate to unfold the stories of grit, glamour, and rigor. Most importantly, someone who has challenged the status quo and broken the glass ceiling. We have tried inviting her a couple of times, but with no luck. But this time, we were lucky. So today we are honored, privileged, and of course, very much excited to present this amazing individual at our Evening with a Corporate Leader series. Ladies and gentlemen, she's none other than Ms. Otara Gunewardena, founder chairperson, EMBARK and Otara Foundation. Please allow me to read this brief profile blurb of our speaker. Otara began her journey by setting up a shop at the back of a blue station wagon, which led her rose to fame as Sri Lanka's leading female entrepreneur, fashion icon, and philanthropist. Her lifestyle store, Odell, became renowned throughout Asia as a top retailer, and Otara was the first female entrepreneur to take her company public in Sri Lanka in 2010. During her tenure at Odell, Otara initiated EMBARK, a brand that would be synonymous with street dog welfare in Sri Lanka. After 25 years of hard work and dedication that spearheaded Odell as Sri Lanka's #1 department store, Otara sold her shares to SoftLogic plc in 2014. Consequently, EMBARK became the highlight of Otara's journey from there on, whereby she was able to pursue her true calling, a service towards animals. Otara revolutionized the idea of street dog welfare in Sri Lanka by using all profits from EMBARK's brand and merchandise towards rescue and treatment operations. With the progression of EMBARK as an organization that works towards rescuing, treating, rehoming, and improving the lives of street dogs, Otara has also branched out to animal welfare in general, environmental conservation, and of course, social welfare through both EMBARK and the Otara Foundation. Very recently, Otara won the Woman of the Year at the Top 50 Professional and Career Women Awards, 8th edition, Sri Lanka and Maldives. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Otara Gunewardena. Thank you, Otara. It's an honor and a privilege once again. And as we promised, we will be conducting this session as a moderated Q&A style. But of course, she's gracious enough to take on a few questions from the audience as well. How we compile these questions for the session is through our clients, our corporate clients, as well as through our students who have sent us questions to ask from her through social media, through our Facebook as well as through our Twitter. So we have compiled and articulated to formulate like a flow to ask from her. Thank you, Otara, once again. Right, my first question to you. She has a degree in biology from Bowling Green State University. But then she moved in to fashion retailing. What motivated you to make this? I think it's a bold shift. What motivated you to do that?
Well, first of all, it's great to be here. And I know you have asked me several times and I haven't accepted, but here I am. Yeah, so interesting question. So yes, I'm a biologist at heart and an animal lover and environment lover at heart, and my whole childhood and my whole life has been about my great passion for that. So that's why I became a biologist, because I didn't want to be a vet due to the number of years I had to study, and I wasn't that great in my studies. So that's really what it was about. And then after I finished my studies, I came back to Sri Lanka, and I wanted to actually have a career in conservation, and actually my greatest dream was to live in the jungle and help animals. So I couldn't really I didn't really look that hard also, but I didn't really find the ideal job in that, and then I started modeling to earn some money.
Wow.
And the reason I was actually for funds was mainly, of course, you needed to live, but also I actually wanted to do projects for conservation, and I wanted to support some projects that was being done by the wildlife department at that time to save elephants. So I was actually trying to fundraise for that, and I started by making T-shirts, and the first 4 T-shirts were like a monkey, elephant, porcupine, and a crocodile, which they sell today as well. And so that was really the start of it, and then of course from there it was to the factory surplus clothing, and so that was the beginning. But the whole cause of it, and it started to raise funds, and that was the main objective.
Amazing, amazing. Right. My second question would be, in 1989, she was selling factory surplus garments and apparel from your blue wagon, your car boot, and it was the humble beginnings for this, this personality. Can you share your experiences and your memories?
Yes, that's how it started. So from the like I said, I used to go to the factories. There were a lot of the garment factory industry was really growing at that time, and there were a lot of factories that didn't know what to do with their surplus stocks. And so I had a friend who wanted me to come and help him to clear some of the inventory, and that was really how that started. So I used to take the stocks and then sell it to other shops, and to my friends and fellow models who used to model with me in fashion, in the fashion shows and things. And that was how that started. And then I decided I wanted to open a small store, and so from the car I went to that. It was just like 300-400 square feet, and so I painted it myself, and I had to borrow $50 from my brother Ajit, and $50 from my mother, and I put the balance 50.
So you started with 100.
So yeah,
100 rupees.
150, and that was basically how it started, and then it started growing from there. And so it became very popular, and a lot of people were coming to buy this stock, and then I also had my own range of T-shirts, and that was really the beginning of it. And I also realized I liked doing it, and I enjoyed doing it. I used to have big sales, and a lot of people used to come for the sales, and so that was really the start of
the start. So you would have faced so many problems, obstacles, challenges. Can you go back and share with us the experiences you faced as an entrepreneur, the obstacles, the challenges, and what advice can you give out to the budding entrepreneurs?
Well, for me, I was a biologist, so I had no intention of starting a business in the first place.
Yes.
And then, so when I started, I had no idea about finance or marketing or anything really.
Yeah.
So I used to just do what I loved to do and I thought was right to do. And I really enjoyed the part of, the creating like the visuals and the ads and the look of the stores, and how the product was displayed and what I bought. I used to pick everything. Like I used to always go to the factories myself and buy the items. I used to develop the items myself and get them made. So I really enjoyed that part, which I didn't know I would enjoy or that I could do. And that was really, I think, the challenge was really not knowing that. And then I had so many other things of, like one day, like 2 years or so after I started, the whole building burnt down. And because
burnt down?
Yeah, it was at
Okay.
Dickman's Road. And so the whole building burnt down, and then basically I had nothing again.
Okay.
So I had to start from scratch again, and I remember that was like really traumatic for me, and I didn't know if to go ahead and do it again or just forget about it and just leave it. But I did go ahead and do it again, and of course it turned out to be bigger and better than what I had before. So, I think with everything in life, and also especially in business, there's always challenging things and always difficulties. But I think having the strength and that you better than what you had, because you have a huge a whole lesson of having learned, gone through such difficulty, and then and if you, as long as you, I think it's a good thing, and it will help you for your years ahead.
So keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going is the message.
Yeah.
Right.
It's American.
You're breaking up. Right. You want we can give you another FM mic if you. Can the back seats hear what Otara says? Yeah? Can? No. No, they can't. Right. What can we give? Like an FM mic?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have both. We'll use both. Super. Right. So you were talking about, your Dickman's Road shop, being, fire there and burning down, all of that. But you started your first Odell store in 1990. Yeah. And by, I think, 2010, you opened up the 18th store. So what, from an outsider's perspective, it was an onward journey. It was like never, we haven't seen like those ups and downs. It's an onward journey. So, but you would have like, felt all the good, the bad, everything. So what can you share with the audience in terms of the good times, the bad times in your journey, in your business journey as an entrepreneur? What are the lessons that you have taken? Maybe, from bad experiences, maybe you have learned so much. Good experiences, maybe memories. What kind of things can you share?
Well, a large part of the years was during the war. So there were lots of ups and downs during that time. It was very, sometimes very difficult. Like you never knew, when you could open the shop or when you could be there. Sometimes for weeks we couldn't. And then, as you know, when a business is running,
Yeah.
even those things happen, you're still responsible for people's salaries, for people's, for the rents and for all that. So that part was also a great challenge, and the whole business grew, majority of the business grew during that time.
Yeah.
I think for me it was really important to create something and to have a space that was very unique, very different, that connected to people's hearts, that was a lifestyle. And I think that was really what was of great importance to me, to have good product at a good price, in a good atmosphere, and that's what I used to strive for every day, and that's what I used to use, work with the team for. It's important to have a really good team, of course, because no matter what, you can't do everything yourself, and everybody else's input counts. So the happiness of your team and the strength of your team really is really important. And so I was very hands-on on the business, and I loved doing what I did, and I was. The main thing I really loved was doing all the buying and creating the looks and the spaces and it constantly evolving. I feel you have to constantly create new things for your customer, especially in a fashion retail environment, because fashion is changing regularly. Those were the areas that I focused on, and I.
So you like to be hands-on. Right. There is also, because you said hands-on, there is also a perception that people say, okay, if you want to grow, you need to delegate.
Yeah.
How are you with delegation?
Obviously I can do it because, I had, at the time I left, there were, I think, close
Staff.
In the different teams. It's important for me that the look is right and the presentations are right and the product is right, and it's just something that I have that even today. I'm very detailed and I'm very hands-on. Even today. Yeah. So
Attention to detail.
Attention to detail, especially in fashion and retail, is really important, especially when you have so many customers coming in on a daily basis. The main thing is, how do you bring the footfall in, and how do you bring, how do you connect with so many customers? It's it's very easy just to have a space and have product in it, and have nothing that appeals to people, but then everybody can do that. Everybody can have a space and have the same products, and so you're competing on the same level. So I think that's where I used to really strive to.
It's the experience that you have created.
Connect to people's hearts and for them to believe in the lifestyle as well. It's not just selling a product. It's easy to just sell a product, but I think to connect to people and have people also believe in your brand and support you and pick you over another 50 offers that are around you is really what's important.
I know we discussed about Otara Foundation upstairs,
yes.
But what can you tell us about Otara Foundation? I think you are now very much involved and hands-on with Otara Foundation. If you can elaborate.
Yes, so after I left Odell, I started Otara Foundation, and I sold Odell, but of course I didn't sell EMBARK. So that's what I do today mostly. So Otara Foundation does the work with the street dogs and EMBARK, and also some conservation work and animal welfare work is also done under that. And so it's still quite new. It's only been just about 3 years, or maybe under that also. So it's the beginning. We'll see.
A lot of people ask this question. Otara has a passion. She's very passionate towards animals. Why animals? Why are you so passionate about animals? Well, is it your biology, the educational background, or is it
well, I mean, why not animals? And it's really not about the animals. It's about being human. And I believe we can't be human until we learn to live and coexist with all the living beings that are born on this planet and in this country together with us. And I don't think we will ever be, a country to be recognized, a country to be valued, a country to be followed if we don't treat both people and animals equally, and that they both don't have this, unless they both have the same rights. And as humans, we must be compassionate. We must love all lives, both people and animals, and it's so important as a country to lead with compassion for both, and I think it's possible, and I think it needs to be done. It's not happening, it needs to be done, and I think that's the main reason I do it. Of course I love animals and I have a great passion for them, and I always have. But as humans, even if we don't have a great love for them, it's all part of an ecosystem and all part of a country. And everyone has the right to be here and coexist, and we can.
Right. On that note, also tell us about EMBARK, the story about EMBARK, the brand creation, and your future plans for EMBARK.
So with everything I've started, it's always been for a cause, and it's always been with a brand. So as I mentioned, Odell was also for a cause, and so that was the brand that was supposed to help the causes. And right throughout, from the very beginning, as to always do. For me, it was really important to do community work and to help the community that supports the company that I have. So I used to do a lot of even that time, 25 odd years ago, tree planting and beach cleanups and various programs like that, together with a lot of other things for elderly and children and various different projects. Subsequently, after several years, I thought, I'm doing so many little things and I'm not really having great impact in any of them. And I just wanted to focus on one main thing. And that was when I thought about it and then saw these dogs and realized that why don't people love them? Why don't people care for them? Why are they not? They are Sri Lankan. They are part of our community. Why don't we care for them? And that's why I wanted to make a difference for them and also for the community. We do a lot of anti-rabies programs and community work and free vet care for a lot of people who can't afford vet care. So that was really the reason why I started it, and as always, I started it with a brand and with 4 T-shirts, and then moved on to more. So I have about 9 stores now, and it's still small and early days, but I'm still working on it, and I don't know where it'll end up, but but let's see. And so that's what I do. Of course, it doesn't support all the work I do at the moment. I hope I can grow it big enough to do that. All the funds from the profits from the brand is supposed to do the work, which happens, but like I said, it's not enough still. That's really what EMBARK does, and we do treatment, sterilization, vaccination, treatment of the injured, education, a lot of programs with the youth. I do a lot of work with the youth because they're very conscious these days of animal welfare and environment. So I'm very engaged with that, and that takes a lot of my time now.
Wow, amazing. And also, Otara was appointed as in 2009 as the Sri Lankan Goodwill Ambassador for Habitat for Humanity. So I think maybe because of the work that you do with EMBARK, I think it was before EMBARK and Otara Foundation. But can you elaborate on your role as the ambassador?
That was a really interesting role, and I really loved it. Actually, it gave me good exposure to what's happening with the people in Sri Lanka, the great need for homes and shelter. So I had the opportunity to travel to Thailand for a big build. They have these builds every year, and or headed by Jimmy Carter. So I went for one of those and built there, and even here in Sri Lanka, built many houses with them and many locations. And I was the ambassador for 3 or 4 years, and it was really a really good experience. I learned so much, and everybody can do it too. You don't have to be asked. You can just anyone can do
volunteer.
Volunteer. Anyone can do it, and they have different programs for everyone. So even if you want to just help building one day, or you want to donate, or so different things, so it's a good program to look at.
So were you inspired by the appointment to start off EMBARK and Otara Foundation?
No, it wasn't really anything to do with that, but that has been one of them. There are other ones that I've been a part of, but it was just the one that's one of them that was that connected with me a lot. And so I've always supported different causes and been a part of different charities. I do as much as I can.
Amazing. Right. Otara, today's theme, as all of you all know, is leading to success. And we have a very successful entrepreneur and a woman leader with us. Success is not all about winning all the time. It's about how you take your lows, your downs, your ups equally. Can you tell us how you lead yourself for this so-called success, and what your interpretation is on leading yourself towards success?
Well, success is a very wide term and a very wide word, a definition, because success, as you know, varies with each and every person and what their definition of success is. A lot of it, most of the time, is based on the money you earn. But for me, it's everything has always been about the number of lives I could change and the number of lives I could touch, and that has been there from the beginning. And that's all I really focus on, and that's a lot of. That is the inspiration for me of behind everything that I start or do on a day-to-day basis. So even it was working with the teams was really exciting to me, and I think to be able to have something and to have built something and have many people involved who love what you do and who like what you do, and if you can inspire them to be better, to grow, to develop, to uplift their lives, both people and also, in my case, animals. So I think for me that's what's really important, and I think that's what we all have to do. It really isn't about how much you earn or how much or how many buildings you've bought or how many cars you have. It is really about the difference you make to your community, to your country, and the impact you've had. And is it long term? Is it sustainable? Have you made positive change? I think that's what's most important, and I think that's what I look at, and so I don't. There's no proper answer or definite answer to that.
But I was triggered by two words that you stressed. One is purpose. The other one is passion. A lot of people, when you talk about success, it's all about material stuff.
Yeah.
But you were talking about something broader, having a purpose, having a, touching people's lives and having, following a passion. So, for you, success is, finding your purpose and finding your passion. Are we correct to judge that, or are we correct to...
I think so. I think so. And I believe everyone is born with a purpose in life, and finding that purpose and following that through is really what's important, because often we get misled. Often we get sidetracked by who we are told to be and who we are meant to, other people think we are supposed to be and what we are supposed to be doing. Especially in the society we live in today, it's a constant push of you need to be like this, you need to be like that, you can't do this, you can't do that. But who's saying that? You have to be who you are, and you have to truly believe in what you do, and you have to really stick by it. And it was, that's the bigger challenge, because wherever you go, people are telling you, what to do or what you shouldn't do. So I think having that strength to not get distracted and to know your strengths and to know how to use it and how to bring the change that you want to do in your company or your home or wherever it may be. I think that's really important.
And also, a lot of people, they would go to any extent to achieve their dreams, the goals, the materialistic outcomes. What is your stance? What is your position on that? What is your stance on that? What is your take on that?
Well, I think there are limits. Of course, you have to go to great length to, if you want to grow your business, and you have to work hard, and you have to make a lot of sacrifices and all that. But But I think it's important for me, honesty, integrity is really important, and no matter, no matter what you want to achieve, I think that's important. And we all come to this world with nothing, and we go with nothing. So I think to me, doing your best when you're here and trying not to hurt people, trying not to hurt other lives, and trying to be conscious of your trail, of your business, trying to be conscious of creating a better environment, a better community. I think those are what's really important. And sometimes it may mean that you can't do certain things that you would love to do, but then I think that's the decision you have to make and stick by your values.
Amazing. Have you ever been criticized?
I think on a daily basis. So,
can you share with us some experiences?
That's something that's inevitable, and a lot of people, give you are very opinionated, and they push their opinions on you all the time. So especially in the work I do now, because I speak out for certain causes, for certain change, for certain things that I believe in that are wrong now. So as soon as you do that, obviously you cross both sides. You have the people who support you immensely, and then you have the people who think you're wrong. So, but I will always stand by what I believe in, and I will, as long as I know in my heart it's right, and that's what needs to be done. I think that's all that matters, and as long as it's for the greater good of many, and greater good of the country, and greater good of the community. I think that's what's really, really most important.
So your message is stand by your values, stand by your purpose. Don't be,
Yeah, I think
bothered.
so. And it's a distraction, because as soon as you start to look at, okay, this one said that, or that one said that, and you start to waver, and then you lose track of where you're going and what you're supposed to do, and you often make wrong decisions. And if you truly believe in something, business or cause or whatever it may be, you need to stand by it. If you're unsure of something, you can always ask for support from organizations, from family, from friends, from other people who have maybe some more experience than you have, for support. So I think, but if that's what you truly believe you want to do, and you believe is right, and you believe is the correct thing to do, then I think you can listen, but you have to go your own path.
So, okay, are you saying don't react to criticism?
That's a personal choice, because I think you can, and if you feel you should, you can. But I think that's a personal choice, and it's very difficult to make a broad statement on that, because it depends on on the situation, how far the situation. It depends, right? It varies greatly. So that would be that's really something that's a personal choice.
Right. I have got another question. This is a little different to what we have been discussing. The person who actually forwarded this question wants to know from you, if you were given the chance to start all over again, your career, what would you do differently, career-wise? What would you do differently if you're starting all over again?
How do I answer that? The older you get, obviously you learn a lot more, and you know a lot more. So if you ask me today, yes, obviously there would be things I would do differently. But if I'm to go back and change anything, I wouldn't, because I'm sitting here today because something has happened along the way.
Yep.
So I have to believe in that. And but the main thing is to learn as you go on. I think it's really important to listen, to be able to absorb what's out there, to be able to listen, because I see a lot of the time that people are not willing to hear other input, other opinions, because when you think you know everything, and when you think that you're ahead of the game with a lot of things, you miss things that are happening, and suddenly you get hit, by something that you never expect, and sometimes it's a really great fall, because you really have to be aware of what's happening globally, what's happening locally, and your in whatever the customer base or the market that you're in. It's really important, and for that you really have to be open to listening to others and hearing other opinions, and be willing to learn every day. But I mean, for me, like, that's one of my greatest joys is to keep learning every day and to keep understanding new things. And we all don't know everything, and I think it's really important to do that every day, no matter how much you know. And yes, so there's a lot I would change, because I had some very, very difficult times and some wrong decisions that made me lose a lot of money. So, but I learned a lot from that too.
Right. You are a very successful entrepreneur, but you would have had so many sacrifices along your journey. If you awaken your memories, what were the sacrifices that you had to make in this successful journey as an entrepreneur?
Well, it's hard work. It's really a lot of work. It's dedication, and it was like 24 hours of my life. Like, it was my lifestyle was my business, and sometimes I know people say you have to cut off and switch off, but I was somebody who couldn't do much of that. I used to sometimes, but not a lot of it. So there were a lot of sacrifices in sort of, if you would, again, it depends, right? Sometimes it would be trips, or sometimes it would be functions, yes. Or, like a lot of social events and things was things I couldn't go for, I didn't go for because of the time, and I had 2 young children that I was a single parent, so I had 2 young children, so I had to, it was very difficult to balance both. And because I used to travel a lot as well, so that part was really challenging. The finding the balance and trying to do my daily work. Very often I used to work till 2-3 in the morning. Everyone in the company was very used to getting emails sent at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning when they go to work. So it was a bit of a joke in the company as well, that they would go to work and, what time did Otara go to sleep yesterday?
Right, okay.
But it was something that.
But you were on the ball. You had to be on the ball.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong or what everybody else should do, but that was just me and the way I functioned. So it doesn't have to be that way. Ideally, actually, you should have some free time, and you should have, you should take more breaks. So that was. I had a big challenge with balancing everything and the time, but it's possible.
Okay, in that same note, if you can identify like 3 main factors, like key factors, key elements, that you think are important in terms of starting and running a business, what would that key elements or the 3 factors be?
Well, again, I think it depends on each person. Because not everyone, I mean, even it depends on the size of the business you want to run, how much you want to do. Because some people, it's not wrong to have a business that's small and where you only have to go in 3 times a week, and if that's what you want, that's fine too. So that it depends on that depends on each person. But I would say understanding your customer, understanding your market. And for me, it's really important to connect, like I said earlier, connect with the heart to your consumer, to your customer, because that's, to me, is how you can win over others. Is somebody gets up in the morning and picks you? Why would they pick you? If they're, especially today, the competition is so strong. So many of the same types of offers in the market. So how are you going to stand out? How are you going to be different? And I think that's where it's really important to have your own, personal style, personal branding, personal way of communicating. And I always believe in communicating very simply, not complicating things by a lot of words and a lot of complicated, messages. So I think, that way, it's really those are the most important things, I think. And there are more. And like I said before, I think if you really want to grow a bigger business, hard work is I think, the number one.
So your name is synonymous with the fashion retailing as well as fashion industry in Sri Lanka. Where do you see the industry, the Sri Lankan fashion industry, the fashion retailing industry, in the next 5 to 10 years' time? Because a lot of people speculate that we are in for a retailing phenomena. They're getting ready for it. What is your gauge on that? It's changed a lot since I started, of course, and there's much more offers, much more, places that people can go and shop, and much more variety, so much. Yeah.
It's of course left to be seen, but I think it's one really has to understand what's happening globally. There's a huge change in not only fashion retail, in all retail that's happening. And I think it's really important for anyone who's starting now or who wants to, or who's developing now, to understand what's happening globally, how the consumer is changing, who the consumer is, that's coming up. And it brings two things. I think it brings great difficulty for certain people who can't see the change, and it brings great opportunities for those who can, because I believe that the new customer is far more conscious, less consumer oriented. They're the younger generation who really are looking more for a conscious, a brand with a conscience, or a product that has a story, environmentally friendly concept. And if you listen and you see and you speak to people and you look at what's happening globally, you'll see those who are winning are those who have identified that, who have made the changes, and who are really pushing that side of things. And of course, as you know, e-tailing is huge, and
Yes.
it's really wiping out some industries, wiping out some businesses,
Yes.
because it's very hard to compete
Yeah.
with what's happening on with the whole online sphere of retail. So I think it's really So I think if you understand that whole phenomenon, what's happening, and if we focus more on Sri Lankan products and
Yes.
and our brands and our own concepts, I think it'll be really strong, and a balance, or at least a balance of it. So it's interesting to see. I mean, it is something you can't predict, but it's a very interesting time that I think we are in retail, and because it is a really changing landscape that the whole world is seeing. And I think it's something that we all should be aware of, especially those who are starting or who are growing their businesses.
So what you're saying is Sri Lankan authenticity, if we can explore that would really have a unique selling proposition for Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I think so, and I think now is the time to do it. And I think it's a great time to focus on that and develop it more. And really, I do think that there's a great strength with growing up, Sri Lankan brands and Sri Lankan product ranges, and not only for export but to be available here as well. So I think that balance has to get stronger, I think.
Great. Okay, I have a small announcement also
Sure.
to make. This is for the vehicle owner KS7340. Your vehicle is blocking the road, I guess. So KS7340. If you can go to the reception, that might help solve the issue. Right, getting back. Now we were talking about the fashion industry, the fashioning. What about Sri Lanka? Where do you position Sri Lanka in the next 10 years? Where do you see us going in the next, decade or so? What is your
Well, I mean,
view
I
on
think that's a whole different conversation, but I think it happens. I mean, I think it depends on what happens in the next 3 years, and it depends on the choices people make, and really what happens. I believe in the next 2 to 3 years. So I think that's something we'll have to to wait and see.
You are a woman. You are a mother, a wife, and of course, you have two great brothers. You're a sister, a daughter, of course. So you had to play so many roles while you are pursuing this corporate business success. You would have definitely, we were talking about this a while back also, you would have definitely faced so many difficulties. Balancing these different roles, striking a balance. What advice can you give out? I can see a lot of women out there as well. What advice can you give to our women in overcoming such problems that they face being this woman? What can you give as an advice to help them?
Well, first of all, I never used to really, for a long time, see myself as a woman in business. I should just do my work and carry on. That was how I used to function for a long time, until much later on, people used to ask me, how did you do it as a woman? And then only then I used to start thinking about it. But for me, my family was a great support, and I think it's really important to have that. And I think most of us do, living in Sri Lanka. So I think that's an added benefit that we have. And for me, having my entire family supporting me from my childhood, because I was a bit didn't do the usual things when I was a child, but they supported me even at that time, and they were never a family that used to say, you can't do this or you can't do that, or this is what you need to do. They really supported what I believed in, and everything I used to do, from rescuing animals to climbing trees and all sorts of crazy things. So I think that's really important, to have a very supportive family, and also a family that supports you throughout, and my family did. And they were involved in little bits here and there right throughout my business. So that was always a great strength for me, and a great support. And each one has different strengths, around you and your whole family network. And I think using that to also support you and help you is, I think, an added benefit and a big, a big asset.
So the support, your
so,
support
yeah.
around you is the single most important thing. Also, you studied at Ladies College, and she excelled in athletics and swimming as well. What experiences and memories can you share with us going back to your school days?
Yes, so I was very involved in athletics and high jump and hurdles and swimming and ballet. Ballet was not through Ladies College, but so I was very much involved in sports. And like I said earlier, I was not very strong in my studies at all. I didn't do well even in my science subject, which eventually had to go and improve on for biology. But that's what I really love doing, and I think maybe the whole competing, the competition. I used to love competing, and I used to always compete to win, and really train and everything so hard to ensure that I always won the most of them. So that was really, so maybe, I don't know, maybe it has helped me later on in life, but I think so that was the main focus. And I'm back. Actually, I'm really happy that I'm back in Ladies College. I was there 3 weeks ago, I think, speaking to the students and trying to help them with they were A-level students. And in the last 3 weeks, the students are in EMBARK, actually doing internships. There are batches of different students who are there. Today was the last batch. So I'm really glad I'm back to helping the students who are there today, and I hope they will be able to learn something and grow from what they've learned from me here.
So there is this very competitive spirit in you. You like to compete, you like to go get it done. So was that inculcated through the school, the sports that you were involved in, the extracurricular activities?
I mean, I think that's just, obviously there were a lot of sports programs and things in the school, and that's just something that I have inside me. It's to compete, and even where the business is concerned, it is to win. It is to be
go out there and make it happen.
It is to compete. So it's something I don't know that I have, and it's something I enjoy. So so I think definitely it's not a competition like you're running a race, but I mean in business as well, and in whatever you do, you have to stay ahead, right? You have to stay ahead of the competition. You have to stay ahead of the trends. You have to stay ahead of global change, local change. Whatever how your customer is changing. So it's really important to really have a winning. Always be looking at how you can win in different areas, and I think so. In that way, it matters, but I think it relates to running a business in that sense.
Great, right. I would like to call you a brand strategist as well as a brand architect, because you create beautiful brands which are of international standing. And whatever you create, they turn out to be gold. So what is your edge in terms of branding, brand building, creating brands? And what is your secret? And what are the secret ingredients that you put in to making these beautiful brands?
How to say that in a few minutes. But I mean, it's what I love. I love creating brands. I love developing brands, and I love creating, concepts for, in different product ranges, in different looks, in whatever it may be, and that's what I do even now. And I think for me, I think fashion retail is an art. Having a store and a concept is actually, I think, an art. And if to have a winning, a brand, especially in fashion retail, you really, you really have to connect with your customer. You really have to know how to have, you really have to have an edge to be different and to stand out. And I used to see that all the time in the stores that I used to admire, like the Selfridges and in the past Harvey Nichols, maybe not so much now. But it's really, when you go to those stores, it's a whole different feeling you get, and
yes.
And it is created by different people, and obviously by somebody who heads it, and to have a certain feel and to have a certain image and to have a certain, and it really requires a complete connection with lifestyle from what you're selling to the lifestyle of your customer, and for that I think you really need to, to me it is an art, and creating that edge is so important to make you stand out from the crowd.
So it's the experiences that you are really concentrating on through the brand that you're trying to deliver.
I think the experience is really important. What's going to keep your customer from coming back? Why will they come back? What do they think is so special? What do you have that's different to others? Even if you have the same product as others, why would they come to you? So I think that is really important to have that edge, and a lot of that comes from you, because you will see things different to your competition or to someone else, and I think that is really what gives you the edge and something different to offer people in this very, very competitive environment.
Amazing. Otara, with your permission, I would like to open the Q&A session to the audience.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Maybe we can have some light so that we can see everyone. So it's your chance now. I have done my job. I have asked all the questions. Yes.
Strategy or differentiation that you will have for the metropolitan crowd and the rural areas, because I don't think the both will be buying the same thing. What sort of strategy would you follow? And do you, I think mostly you promoting Western styles.
Yeah.
How about promoting some of our local dresses or something?
Well, I mean, a lot of the product range was made in Sri Lanka. There were so many people who were producing for the company and for the brand. So a lot of people who were manufacturing different brands and different styles, and to differentiate. Because as you know, later on I did open the stores outside. So it was mostly, I didn't want to change the product. I didn't want to change only this type of thing will be in the main store in here down the road, and then the other stores would have a cheaper fabric or cheaper, because for me that the whole reason people they were aspiring to come to Adele, the whole reason that they wanted to visit was to have this different product range and to have this special thing that they couldn't find anywhere else. So it was mostly to do with pricing. So I would have the same product, but some of the more higher priced ranges, or the slightly more few. There were some brands that were imported later on. So some of those were not available in those stores. And the range was, of course, limited compared to the big store, which was also to do with size. So that was really how the differentiation happened in my time. Yeah. So the local was really promoted by. I mean, eventually I had. This store had some, like a sari area and all that, but it wasn't my strength, and I really believed in at that time, and I really believed in in doing what I was strong at and best at, but a lot of it was made here, and so we were giving a lot of production to factories, and a lot of people were producing for the company. So, but it was done in sometimes in their own brands, or sometimes in a brand that we created for them.
Yes, Arun.
In-store fashion retailing will be shrink, or the online fashion retailing will boom? What do you feel about?
Well, I think you're seeing it already. It's like I think the revolution has begun, and it's well on its way. And I think the stores will always be there, because customers will, for a long time, will want to visit stores and have the experience. But there's definitely a big shift happening especially globally, where people are buying online and not going to shops. I mean, I have two young sons, 24 and 18, and I can't remember the day they've been to a shop. Everything is bought online, like everything, and it just comes to them, and that's how they buy, and that's how that generation is functioning, and that's how they're used to to living, and I think that's going to impact the sales and a lot of brands and a lot of concepts. So you really need to be ahead of the game and understand what's happening, because eventually it's going to hit here, like it has even in India and Europe and America and everywhere. They're all feeling, certain brands are feeling it, but those who have an edge, those who have something different to offer are doing well, but those who are not having a difference are struggling. Many chains are closing, some who have been extremely successful in the past, because they're not able to adapt to what's happening online. So there are a lot of changes like that, so I think it's really important to understand what's going to happen, and even if it's not happening here, it is happening here. There's so many things, people buying online, and so many new online shopping spaces coming up and starting. So the change is happening here. It may not be that visible yet, but it will happen, I think, in the years ahead. And I think it's important to be ready for that.
I think you're also appointed as a director with Singer.
Yes, just appointed.
Just appointed to the board of Singer. Maybe that would have inspired the trend, the future fashion retailing, how it goes on, online and.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sector is also, feeling the competition now. So many other players and, and so many offering virtually the same product. And so how do you have the edge? How do you stay different? How do you connect to your consumer?
Yes.
Everybody just wants to stay at home and just order it and have somebody bring it there. So many people want to do it. Everybody's leading much busier lifestyles. And it's so easy, right? On your phone, you can do everything. And nobody would have, so many would not have seen that happening or believed it's possible to happen even. But, with everything, like you just 2-3 clicks and in 2 minutes you can just get what you want, to your home. And I think, so those who have that edge and who are able to, to deliver that to that customer, I will really succeed, I think, and some who may not be able to will struggle. No, and I've only been there like 2 weeks.
The thing is that new trend is as you scan the body and you can get it tailor-made. So you think leading people, shops with brands will have to close down and little people will come up manufacturing.
Yeah, actually that didn't work that well. But I think what is happening is this thing called circular fashion, where people are recycling their clothes, and people are wearing. How earlier to wear the same outfit twice was like a fashion no. Now it's fashionable to do it. Like you wear the same outfit twice or 3 times or 4 times. It's quite fashionable, because it's really not fashionable anymore to keep buying new things all the time. And because the impact that now we know that the impact that the garment industry and the fashion industry has on the planet, with this this change that happened with fast retail, where everyone they were encouraging you to buy and throw. So you buy something for $5 and in 2 months you don't just throw it and you get something new. So that was the whole fast fashion trend that happened in the last 15 years or so. And now it's being seen as not sustainable, very bad impact on the planet, and that's where the younger customer is really not keen to be a part of that, and they're buying less, they're buying differently. So I think, and this circular fashion is, a lot of brands are now starting to do it, and a lot of people are talking about it, is where they're getting people to bring back their old things, and then they're recycling it and then making it again, or they're encouraging people to wear the same thing, like I said, over again, or to mend your clothing. And yesterday I read an article which said that there's a new trend that's coming on renting clothing. So you don't have to buy, especially which is happening now, like suits and things. You don't buy because you buy a suit for so many thousands of rupees, and then you'll never wear it again. What do? You just throw it out and it goes. Either somebody takes it, or in those countries it just goes into landfills. So in that as well, there's a huge change happening more globally than here. But everything that happens globally eventually comes here. Yeah.
So that's why I think they will be throwing away and buying new.
Yeah, so that's what used to happen, like for every season, I mean, especially in those countries, for every season, they used to buy new things, like a new jacket for every winter, for every spring, new dresses, for every summer, new something, so, but that's what's changing. And I don't know if you saw, but one of the main highlights of even that royal wedding recently was really to do with, what's her name? Kate, right?
Kate Middleton.
Kate Middleton, where she had worn that dress 4 times And that was really like, it was trending everywhere. People were sharing it and saying, you know, she's worn this 4 times. And so they're all giving a message, you know, that they don't want to be seen as these people who are buying, you know, so many hugely expensive dresses and wearing it once and throwing it away. I mean, that's the younger consumer, the younger generation who are more conscious of the planet and of more conscious living, of trying to live more consciously.
Yes, you're the epitome of genuine kindness and empathy, but without delving too much into strategy, what would you say your main influences are in terms of individuals or entities, concepts or philosophies?
Yeah, so I think you know, we all have to look at how we run our businesses and how we live. And you know, we've all, including me, I've all, you know, been part of a way of life that we haven't seen the damage we create with things we buy, with the way we buy, with what we eat, and you know, the way we live. So I think overall, and that's where the younger generation, I think, is far more conscious of it, because we're far more aware of the impact we are having and the suffering we create for so many animals, but through the food we eat. Veganism is one of the biggest movements in the world at the moment, because people now know, and you know, I've been part of that as well. I've not known, you know, the impact that the suffering I have created, and I've not eaten, you know, meat for a while, but you know, now I don't eat anything because I see, you know, what they do to the chickens, and it's all to do with mostly big industries that are creating this, and we don't see it. Why don't they show you the slaughter of a cow? Why don't they show it? Because it's so horrific, and you know, if they show it, 80% won't eat it. So, you know, things like that. And now with social media, everything is far more visible, and you have the opportunity to see so much more, and, you know, there's a whole awakening happening, especially, again, like I said, through the younger generation who are understanding it, and even through companies and businesses. Like I said, it's those who are making the changes for that young consumer that is really starting to win against others. And, you know, like, for example, Starbucks has just offered like 3-4 vegan offers. IKEA is all like 100% renewable energy, the way their businesses are running. So many changes like that are happening for the companies who believe it's really important to reduce the impact that we are creating on our planet, in our countries. And you know, because it is going to run out at some point, yes, in the future, and it is the younger generation that's coming up that's going to really struggle if no change happens now. So I think that's the change we see happening, and each one of us can make change as well. And I think it's so important to live cruelty-free, because we can do it. And I mean, who wouldn't want to live a life without hurting an animal, without hurting a human, without creating huge damage? We don't think about it often, but when you start thinking about it and wanting to live a life like that, there's so many things you change, and it's not difficult to do. So it is possible, and I think it's important to do.
Yeah. Yes. We have.
My question is mainly, you sold Odale in 2014. Like, even then, Odale was anyway famous. What was your reason for taking a decision to sell a company which is doing well?
I had few reasons, and okay. The main one was that I really wanted to go back to doing what really was my true passion, which is to help animals and the environment. And it was very hard for me to do both while I was there, because it used to take up so much of my time. So that was the main reason, and I wanted. And you know, after the company went public, I found it more like harder. You know, I used to lead with my heart a lot of the time, and I found it harder to do that. It's nothing to do with Odale as a whole, but that's how a lot of companies function. Once you have shareholders, and once you have you have different ways of functioning, especially after you go public. But mostly I just wanted to go back to doing what I really wanted to do was to make a change and to improve animal welfare and to speak for the voiceless animals in Sri Lanka, help people and try and help our wildlife and see what I could do, in those areas, and that was the main reason.
Yeah, ma'am. Sri Lanka, yes.
No, not at all, actually. For me, like this, it's the suffering. I can't, it's really hard for me to see. And the problem is I see it. And sometimes I wish I didn't. And it's not just to do with animals, it's to do with communities, to do with the environment. It breaks my heart to see us cutting down forests and destroying our environment and not protecting it the way we should. I see a lot of places where they have droughts now and they don't have water. A lot of people struggling to survive without water. The great divide between those who really have faced such difficulties day to day, who can't move up in life because they just don't have the ability or the equality of life that is not equal to all. And for me, I see a lot of good and kindness every day, but I see so much cruelty, so much suffering every day too, and it's very, very hard actually, because especially on the animal side, we don't have strong laws, and there's so much cruelty going on. I don't know how it has happened that we have that in Sri Lanka. I would. Those, I don't know about the goosebumps, but it makes it very difficult to function sometimes. But also, I can, I try to do what I can to bring change, and so let's see.
Yeah.
Otara, who were your role models when you were growing up, and who were you looking up to when you were doing the businesses?
My role models change as my life progresses. If I was, when I was a teenager, my role models were those who lived in Africa and who were doing like great things with, like for example, Jane Goodall and Diane Fossey, and there were some others like that who used to do a lot of good work, and because of whom today a lot of those animals are protected and where things are developing positively. So actually last week I went back to, not last week, 3 weeks ago I went to Rwanda to see where, the gorillas, after something I wanted to do for 40 years. So that was then, and then during the business time I had different role models from, those who had grown, entrepreneurs who have grown their business, from the Richard Bransons to the Warren Buffetts to, different people. So it was never really one, and then it moved on to Mother Teresa and, various others like that. So it depends, and I think there's something to learn from each one. So it's not easy. I don't think it's right to have one person, because obviously each person is different and not everything they do, relates to you. So I think you can learn from everyone and take little bits which are relevant to you and use that to move ahead. And especially, they'll has to follow a lot of the department stores. And I was a part of, there was a group called IJDS, which was the International Group of Department Stores, which Odell joined some years ago. So I used to get great inspiration from going to those conferences and learning about what others do. Some of those businesses are just massive. So, and then, Parkson was there as well. I actually met Parkson through that, and they were a big retailer in Malaysia, who then invested in Odell. I think it's changed, and I think to me it's important not to have one, but you can always have many. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there are different ways it can be done, and I truly believe it can be done. And there's a plan and a method that has to be followed for the benefit of both. You have to look at both sides because, it's happening because we're obviously taking away the lands from the elephants, and they have nowhere to go. They too have to feed their families, and because they're not animals that really want conflict. They don't ask for conflict unless they're actually pushed to it. And they do it out of desperation. And, I think we've created such a turmoil, with development which has been very unplanned, with ad hoc, building of things and clearing of forests, over the years, and which has caused a lot of turmoil and a lot of difficulty at this time. And it is possible. I'm just back from Rwanda. And, what they're doing there to preserve their wildlife and to develop their ecotourism and their forests is really an example to follow. It's really, really amazing. And it's being led by their president, Paul Kagame. And their gorilla population is growing, and as a result now they're trying to expand their forests and buy the lands of the people around there so that the families can grow, the gorilla families can have more land. There's a forest I went to which has chimpanzees, and that forest over time has been split by human settlement. So now, and there are chimpanzees on both sides of the forest. So now they're working with some German entity where they're growing the trees, and I saw the trees being grown, where they're trying to bridge the two forests so that the animals can move from one to the other. They have zero poaching, no conflict. With hardly any conflict with human and animals, and they have all the chimpanzees, gorillas, elephants, lions, different animals, and they also they had a genocide in 1994 where 1 million people died in 100 days. But subsequent to that, they have made all these changes with his leadership, and they're now trying to increase the populations of rhinos, lions, elephants, because they know how important it is for tourism. So there are a lot of things like that can be done. And there was another example within the city of Kigali itself, where in the 70s that they had built industries in all the wetlands in the cities, and now they've taken a decision that they want to bring back the wetlands. So they're moving out all the industries, and he's in the process of creating the wetlands again, so that they have more ecosystem balance between what was there and now. So there are so many things like that can be done and should be done. But there are challenges, and I think it's important. I think it's for our wildlife and our forests are so important for Sri Lanka. I believe that, and I really believe it should be preserved. Yeah, I think it's a great asset we've been given, and no other country in the world has what we have. And it's just sad that we don't do enough to preserve it. And even when I went to see the gorillas, there are only 100 people a day are allowed, no more, even if they get 500 requests, only 100. And for each family, only 8 people can visit, only for 1 hour a day. So, really strict rules because they don't want to stress the animals, they don't want to damage their forests. So, there are so many things like that, and they stick to it. And so I think there's a lot we can learn. I never knew that it was like that, but I learned a lot.
Maybe we can go for one last question from the audience.
Yeah, as Sri Lanka is a biodiversity hotspot. So through your brand, do you have any plan to go for international and grab the attention of the international to conserve these animals in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do for the last 2-3 years, is to really create the awareness. And until people change and people realize what's important to protect and what's important in the country, it's very difficult to make changes. And I think it's really important for everyone to make a difference. And I think it's important to show, even if you show a lot of people are coming here for that. Very, very few come for to enjoy the city, or everybody wants to see what we have outside. The wildlife, the forests, the rivers, the mountains. That's what they love to see. So I think it's something that we can really, which we do. We do sell it, but I think it can be promoted much more, and it's what people love internationally and even locally. We all love it, and we all. We're all sad when we see, destruction, or we're all sad when we see elephants dying, the same. And obviously people are also struggling with the conflict, but, I think it's something that can be solved in a way where both benefit, both people and animals. And I think we really need to find that way.
That balance.
The balance. Yeah.
That balance, yes. With that note, I think we will conclude
She had
our...
one question, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
The
Okay,
last-
this may be the last question. And Otara, if you are invited to address all the MPs in our parliament, Sri Lanka, and what is the core message? You are given only 5 minutes, and what is the core message that you would share with them?
It is a paradise, and we have to find a way to preserve everything that's really great about it. It's a difficult question to answer. But yeah.
I think you wanted to ask a question. The lady over there. When it comes to marketing your business, especially since the time when you started a business to the present day, there would be a difference in the way you would probably spend your budget. Earlier you had things like print media and television. Now you have a lot of social media influence when it comes to advertising. So how do you see the future when it comes to marketing, present day to the future? How do you see it? How a person would spend their budget when it comes to business?
Yeah, I think, social media is such a important platform for communication, and a good one. Of course, there's the negative side of it, but for me, it's very positive, and it's what I use a lot, now. And a lot, especially like new brands and, people starting, it's difficult to spend, because it's very expensive now for press and radio and TV is so expensive, and also it's so cluttered. All of it has so many different offers and so many different ads, and so it's very difficult to stand out, and like I said, it's very costly. So social media is a good platform, and a lot of digital media is really what a lot of people are using. I think it's really good. But again, I think you have to know how to use it and know how to communicate, and you have to make it interesting for people who are following you to be able to follow you. And I think that is really important to know how to do that. And it does require some sort of, individual message or some sort of form of which stands for what you're trying to market. And that is really what connects, to the people. And I think because, there's, again, on social media, there's so much of things, and it's not, that's also not so cheap anymore to market, because you have to, especially Facebook and all now is very, it's very money oriented, and you have to pay. It wasn't like that, but now you have to pay to be visible. So it's really important that people would be interested to stop at what you're showing. And but if you do get that right, I think you have a huge advantage. And obviously you see people on Instagram and Facebook, those who mostly and more Instagram now, and you see, a lot of people run their businesses on Instagram or Facebook and get a huge amount of sales and all off that. And of course there are all the influencers and people you can use to promote your brands. And so it is a whole new way. It would be very different today compared to what I did then. I actually wonder now how I got the brand so visible without social media. Actually, I don't know how it happened. I really don't know, because the early days it was simply word of mouth. A lot of it was word of mouth, that people used to hear about it and come to the store, because even at that time I couldn't afford the ads during the early days. But of course, actually the advantage is that you have social media now, and I think it's something that definitely, I think the percentage has changed from what you would put into your, into the the media, the press and all that, and I suppose the social media, especially younger brands are really doing well through social media.
I know you all have so many questions to ask from her, but I think we are running out of time. So Otara, can I invite you to end the session, conclude the session with a take-home advice?
Well, I mean, I don't know what what else I can say, but I thank you for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure to be here. I hope you've been able. I hope I can what I've said or some of what I said will help you in the years ahead. And everything. I believe everything is possible, and if you believe in something really strongly, you can make it happen. And you just need to find the way to do it. And I think that's what I believe in. And I wish all of you the very best, all the very best. And really, I hope you have great success in whatever y'all are doing in the areas where you're at, where you're developing at the moment.
So impossible is nothing, says Otara. With that, we conclude this amazing session. And thank you very much, Otara. It has been a pleasure and a privilege.
Thank you so much.
And it's an honor you coming here and helping us spread this message of, great grit and glamour. To present Otara with a token of appreciation, I would like to invite Professor Ranjit Bandara, our head of the business school, and also Mr. Dasanta Fonseca, our deputy chair of the Colombo School of Business and Management, onto the podium, please. I think maybe we can come over here. Yeah. Yep. Thank you very much. So thank you, Otara. Thank you to all of you. Until we meet in a month's time, good night. Take care.